All right, today I'm here with K-Bar, American Legion Post 639, and we kind of started talking about this. You were in the Marine Corps, correct?
Right.
And living in California, and you said it was kind of, and the reason I bring this up is because this is kind of a thing I like to bring up is that, like, with some guys, it is your only opportunity. You know what I mean? Not everyone has the ability to go to college. Not everyone has the family to pay for them to go to college or the opportunity to get a job straight out of high school. And that's kind of where you went into the Corps, correct?
Right. And I graduated high school in '77, and I kind of bummed around for a while, and there wasn't really any, opportunities, and I wasn't really interested in going to college. My parents couldn't pay for it anyways. But, I started hanging out with the, wrong crowd, and I see a lot of my friends getting in trouble and going to jail, going to prison. So one day I just decided, I said, I gotta get out of here. And I had uncles that were in the Marines. Mm-hmm. They were Korean War veterans, and I always looked up to them. So one day I just woke up. I was pretty much living out of my car, mm-hmm. and I just got up and I went down to the recruiter's office and I said I want to join the Marine Corps, and he was like, well, when can you ship out? And I said, well, I'm not doing anything today, and but he said, well, we got to get you tested and get a physical and all that crap. But from the time I went in the recruiter's office to the time I went to boot camp was 6 days.
Wow, that's quick.
And so I went to boot camp. Did at MCRD in San Diego. Left there when I graduated boot camp. I went to Marine Barracks, Concord, California. Mm-hmm. So I was still stuck in California. Then when I did 3 years there, and then I went to Camp Pendleton, down by San Diego, and I did 3 years there. And then after that, I was like, I got to go somewhere different. But I wound up doing 30 years in the Marine Corps.
Wow!
So I retired as a master gunny. But got to see the world. I've been to. I spent 6 years on Okinawa. I was in Korea. I spent about a year in the Philippines. I spent 3 years at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Wow.
And of course, I did I was in Iraq. Did a tour there. I worked with I was the operations chief for the Civilian Police Assistant Training Team, where
in Iraq.
In Iraq, yeah. I worked with the Iraqi police.
Yeah.
And,
how'd that go?
It was interesting. I did a lot of traveling. I did a lot of traveling throughout Baghdad, and then I would travel or fly. I'd catch a helo and fly to these outlying locations, and because I'd have to go down to where the police stations were, or the police academies where we were training these guys to be police, and I'd go down there and make sure that they were doing, getting trained properly and doing what they're supposed to do. Plus, I was in charge of making sure they got the ammunition and the weapons they needed, making sure they weren't selling the gear we gave them.
I'm sure that was a problem too.
Yeah. And so it was pretty interesting. I had, I was in a NATO command actually. And so I had Brits that I worked with. I had Italians, Canadians. We had I had a lieutenant colonel that was from El Salvador.
Oh, wow.
That's
all over the place.
Yeah, so we had some obviously Iraqis too. And the Iraqis, the ones that I worked with, I never had no issues with them. They're
pretty receptive.
To me, they were just like us. A lot of them just. They're trying to make a living, provide for their family. They were happy that we had taken Saddam Hussein out of power. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that they had the Sunnis and the Shias trying to kill each other off.
Yeah, and you can get thrown in the middle of that.
Right.
It's interesting you bring that up with the NATO thing, because you get. And this is just a stereotype that we went over there, and it was just like, this is the American way of life. You're going to do that, but that's what you just told me. You had so many different viewpoints.
Right.
You had the Italian viewpoint and the European viewpoint and the South American viewpoint, and I'm sure you all had to work together and say, this is the way we all kind of do it.
Right.
So we're not telling you how to. It's the whole idea, and I completely love this piece of advice. It's always better to show someone how to fish than to just give them the fish.
Right.
And I think that's inevitably what you guys did and were trying to do.
Yeah, they. I don't know. I made some, good friends over there with the Iraqis and the Brits and a lot of those guys. It's just, and sometimes it was just kind of sad to see the living conditions as those people live in.
yeah.
Just like when I was in the Philippines, I spent almost a year down in the southern Philippines, at a place called Zamboanga, and I was the operations chief for the Joint Special Operations Task Force there. And they have the Philippines is 50,000 islands, and in the southern Philippines you got a place called Mindanao and Jolo and Tawi-Tawi and Basilan and all these places, but there's Muslim extremists down there. They're called the Abu Sayyaf.
Okay.
And they also have a terrorist group called the MILF. Yeah. And it's the Moro,
the worst name ever. But always the funny.
It stands for the Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
And it's MILF.
So that was kind of funny. But when I was down there, I got to work with a lot of the Filipinos. But I worked with I had my XO was a Navy SEAL. My CO was a Special Forces guy. We had Navy SEALs on some of the islands, Marines on some islands, Special Forces guys on some of the other islands.
Yeah.
And so I got to do a lot of traveling down there. And one thing I learned about the Filipino people is that a lot of them are dirt poor.
Oh, yeah.
They have nothing, but they always seem to be happy, and and they tried to do the best that they could, But I really enjoyed it, but it was hotter than hell.
Oh, I bet it was hotter than hell.
It's like we ran our air conditioning, 24/7 in our office and in our living quarters, but we had a gym that was outside, and so you'd work out in the morning but go take a shower. By the time you walked from your shower to where you work,
You were sweating off.
And it was only like 50 yards, our compound. So
The difference between the haves and the have-nots in countries like that is incredible, and that's especially with the Olympics going on in Rio right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's the difference, and it's not that it's not that it is a dangerous place, but it's not because of the people. It's because there's such a difference between the ones that have the money
Right.
and the ones that don't. And then when you get that, that's when bad things start to happen. So you are a part of a really cool. One thing that I see a lot of, and I'm very, very happy to see week in and week out. Every time I take a veteran out, is more times than not, in almost every case, a guy who served as soon as he's done or retired always gives back to veterans, and that's a very important thing. And you served for a thing that you guys were part of at the birthplace of Route 66 Festival. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Aaron Sachs asked the Combat Vets Association to help run the poker run, the Route
Gypsy
66.
poker,
Yeah. And it was pretty big. I think we probably had close to 600 bikes.
That's huge.
And it was huge, but we were able to come together, worked with Aaron Sachs personnel, like you had Debbie and Megan, did a tremendous job. We had guys, one of our guys, Trainer, the other one, Raider. Those guys put in a lot of time and effort in trying to make sure that everything ran smoothly. And for us doing it, this was the first time we did it. It was a big undertaking, but we all got together and just pitched in and made it happen. There was a few glitches, but it was just it's a learning curve.
You can prepare 100%, but there's nothing that will prepare you until you're actually doing it.
Right, but we got a lot of positive feedback from people that went on the ride. It looks like if they ask us to do it again next year, we'll definitely do it. And we raised about $8,000.
That's wonderful.
And 100% of that money is going to go back to helping veterans in need in the local community, because we're a nonprofit, and nobody in in the CVMA, the Combat Vets, nobody gets paid.
Yeah.
So everything we do is volunteer, but we need to help each other out.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
There's a lot of veterans that don't know where to go for help. Or we've helped guys that were living in their car, or they're trying to get back on their feet, get a job, but they don't have the money to to buy some new clothes, or their car's broke down and they need help with that. So as long as we normally, what we'll do is vet them just to make sure that, hey, they are true veterans, and then we'll help them out. Unfortunately, you do have people that
try to milk the system,
try to
every now
scam
and then.
scam you.
Which
So
is awful that it ever happens, but that's
Right.
they're people.
but we get audited by the IRS, so we got to make sure that
Ducks in a row.
right.
Yeah.
So we do everything we can to help them. So all the money we raise through raffles and through running this poker run goes to support veterans. We're also doing the Mount Vernon Veterans Home poker run. I think it's next month. And we help those guys out, and 100% of the money that we raise from that poker run goes back to the Mount Vernon Veterans Home.
That's great. That's awesome. If somebody wants to be a part of that or need to find out more about it, where can they go?
Oh, off the top of my head, I know I didn't bring any info with me, but I know that
Well, after this, you get it on our web. I'll put it on our website.
Okay.
They can look in our motorcycle section. It'll be up there too.
okay. Yeah, I
do
know.
that
I think
totally.
I know it's next month.
If it might already be up, it might not. We
Right.
have so many rides. Like, as soon as I get them, I was like, flyer good, everything good, cool, loaded, done. We
We
have so many.
We have so many things going on. Just this month, I think we got the Camp Hope ride, where Camp Hope is a place up by Farmington, Missouri, that a guy started that up there. His son was killed in Iraq, and he had a farm, and he turned it into a place where wounded warriors could go, and they hunt and fish and stuff. And so they raised money to support that.
That's awesome.
He built cabins for these guys to stay. They have a big lodge that they can stay in, and if they need a place to go and just get away, they can go there, and they get the help that they need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of these guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, even the Vietnam vets, a lot of them have issues, and they don't like to get help. They don't want to go to the go see a doctor or go to the VA. But when they talk to other veterans who've been there and have
They
some of
can
the
kinda
same
see that
issues,
it's all good.
they
More receptive to it.
right, they're
Yeah.
more receptive to it. And I had a guy call me the other day and asking me how he could get some help, and so we try to get them the help that they need.
That's awesome. Last but not least, K-Bar. Where did that name come from, and what the hell does it mean? Because I know
Well-
Raider, that makes sense, but
Okay,
K-Bar.
well, in World War II, the Marines were issued the K-Bar knives.
Okay.
So it's indicative. It's a Marine
Marine
thing.
term. Gotcha.
And I
Yeah, I can
even
see
have
that
a Marine, I
tattoo.
have a K-Bar knife tattoo.
that's awesome.
And I'm just one of those guys. Anything that has to do with weapons, I must own 200 knives, and I can't tell you how many weapons I have.
That's cool.
But
That's awesome.
But it's just a Marine. The knives were issued to Marines, so I was a Marine, so I just,
That's awesome. Well, K-Bar, thank you so much for your service to our country in and out of the military. What you've done and what you continue to do is an amazing thing.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview veterans. And,
It's one of my favorite parts of the job.
And,
No, I mean it
and
from the bottom of my heart.
getting the word out
Yeah.
on what we do, what the Combat Vets Association does, and want to shout out to Aaron Sachs for helping us.
Yeah. Yep. It's a good thing. So thank you.
Okay.